want to aim more. They don't want to put in the tedious time to do that kind of. That's why Defran might have been good in
Yeah, I mean,
Valorant.
Defran was ridiculous in Valorant. Yeah, before he went to grow strawberries on his farm, he was he was nuts.
Okay, do you think Valorant specifically, with the ability uses and stuff like that, this is kind of a little bit of a different tangent. But do you think like the ability usage has people moving over from Overwatch, like Sinatra and stuff like that? Do you think they've benefited more than Counter-Strike players? Or do you think Counter-Strike players that have moved over to Valorant have benefited way more? Because I know on your show you guys have Wyatt, right?
Yeah,
and everybody on Reddit says, when I saw your guys Reddit on the posts and stuff like that, people are like, Wyatt is insane at scouting. Like, he's an insane scouting individual. Good. So do you think that people from Counter-Strike have a lot more of the skills, obviously, that transferred more? I mean, this is a little bit, late on the party when we're talking about that. But
sure, I think in theory, the Overwatch guys should have an advantage, and Sinatra's been an incredible talent. Like, you could argue that he was the best player in North America for 2020. Like, he's been at that kind of level where he was just sick. But the rest of the Overwatch guys that came over, for whatever reason, have been poorer with ability usage than the other people from CS. Yeah, it's very strange. Yeah. It's really weird to watch. I don't know why that's been the case, but for some reason, maybe it's because they have to think about the game really differently. So they're thinking about like the CS elements more because they're the things that are less familiar to them. But yeah, when you watch like FaZe, for example, that has Corey and Raucus and Baby Bay and Zachary, those guys are not quite at the same level as Sinatra is, and especially when it comes to the ability usage. Like they're all sick at aiming. They're really good at aiming, but in terms of like the teamwork and the coordination, it hasn't really translated as well from Overwatch. But that's something that all the CS players have to learn as well.
Yeah, they do have to learn it, but I think it's because they go through like the tedious, like everybody in Counter-Strike, it's like it's a requirement. You have to go through the tedious aspect of learning smoke like lineups, learning Molly lineups and stuff like that. All that kind of stuff is learned before you get into the pro scene. Whereas Overwatch, I guess when you play Overwatch, it's like more freeform. Like I don't think I ever really had to learn like even anti-grenade lineups. Like that's not even 100% a requirement. I learned them, but like it wasn't 100% necessary. This is why I wasn't a top pro Sideshow, is because I didn't put in the time that some of these fucks, like some of these diva mains that are being cringe in lobbies and shit, setting up their diva bomb lineups, like the Fury one on like Kings Row and stuff like that. A lot of those like small things are not looked at by like people like Baby Bay and whatever, because they want to aim more. They don't want to put in the tedious time to do that kind of. That's why Defran might have been good in Valorant.
Defran was ridiculous in Valorant. Yeah, before he went to grow strawberries on his farm, he was he was nuts. I mean, because the weird thing about Defran though is that he's got all of the aim as well, but he's also really nerdy and he loves learning all of the tiny little bits about how to dominate other people in the game. I think he gets a sick pleasure out of just rolling his opponents.
Yeah, you have to be a specific kind of person, and that's what like Sinatra is. Sinatra is that kind of person that would be willing to put in the time to get good at that kind of stuff. But he didn't. He obviously lost to Immortals in VCT and stuff like that. What's your overall take from VCT?
Well, I mean, it's barely kicked off, right? It's like it's just the first whispers of it in 2021. So Immortals won a seeding tournament. All right, cool. Well done to Pack-10 and Gamba, actually, who are making the most of their kind of situation over in Valorant and doing an incredible job with the Immortals team and with the roster and with the scouting. But I still need to see more, all right? I know that this team is going to be good, but are they going to be the best? It looks like they have the potential to be one of the best, but I want to see it when it actually comes to like the tournaments that matter, when everything. I want to see these guys still play with the same level of confidence when the match means more. I want to make for people like Shot Up in particular and Chemicals, because he's new to the roster too. Like those guys were playing with so much confidence, and when you have confidence to take duels and win them, you're putting pressure on your opponents. You're not scared of anything. You just believe that you're going to hit the shot, and most of the time you kind of follow through. But when it gets to bigger moments, especially when we end up playing on LAN, whenever the hell that's going to be, I think you'll see the scene shift a lot, and we'll start to develop these narratives as like who can actually handle it under the pressure.
So do you agree with the people that have kind of said that this COVID era, quote unquote, is kind of unique in a way that like you don't have to play on LAN? Because I mentioned it before with BQB. Like people said that he was improving at LAN. Yeah, I don't think BQB was very good at LAN. Like the man was a little bit dog shit, to be honest with you. And then when he goes to online, he fucking plays like a god. Like, do you think that this this COVID era has impacted some of these younger players and some of these more nervous people or whatever. You think it's impacted them, and this should be seen as like a caveat to this whole, I don't know, 2 or 3 years of this COVID era?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, absolutely. There's I'd argument for it. The reason being, I mean, you're playing online, you've got ping issues as well. You have like all of the issues that are to do with COVID on the outside too, like the added stress onto players, the fact that they might not have seen their families for ages, they're not able to travel. We haven't had homestands where players were truly going to be tested. You haven't had crowds booing at you. You haven't had crowds even watching you. You've been in the comfort of your own home with your shoes off, sitting in your comfy clothes or whatever, barely with even a webcam on you. The pressure is much less. In some senses, the players as well were saying that it can be hard to get in the zone even because it feels just like a scrim. So, yeah, I think that, I mean, it's been the case in CS for years that their online results have been way more volatile than their actual LAN results. Like, some people don't even bother watching online CS. They just wait for the big LANs to happen, and that's the only thing that they pay attention to. The great thing about Valorant, though, is that the early time of a scene is normally the time that people are just learning the game and the results are all over the place anyway. And the fact that that is online is a good thing, really, because you get it all out the way. Like, you get the online portion out the way, and then by the time people are actually comfortable with the game and good at the game, we'll be at LAN. Whereas for Overwatch League at the moment, everyone's really good, but you're all playing online. So you've got this like weird mixture where you'd love to care about the results. Like, they're the most important results really that we've had ever. We're looking at our most competitive season ever in the Overwatch League, and it's just a bummer that it's all being played online. There's nothing you can do about it, but it is a bummer.
It's just easier for Valorant to kind of deal with it because they're so early and because their scene doesn't really exist just yet, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like the very big, like the very foundation with it. Oh, hell of a highlight, wasn't it? If you liked it, make sure you subscribe over here and like down below. Also, leave us a comment because obviously, let's be real, for the algorithm, okay? For the algorithm, you got to help us out, okay? If you comment, that helps us. If you don't, that's fine. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, though. Catch you guys in the next highlight or live stream. See you.